Hi, and welcome to the Boat Princess podcast. My name is Nicky Vaux, and I'm your host. I am a boat owner, a marina owner, a director on the Marina Industries Association, and a huge advocate for boating. In this series, I'm sharing the stories from every nook of the boating industry with the intention of encouraging more women to join me and for more women to get behind the helm too. I want to share the experience and opportunities of boating, of the boating industry, and I want you to join me as I bring the conversations and answer all the questions you've had. Boating is not just for the glamorous and rich and famous. It's full of beautiful and interesting people making the most of our natural environment and getting out there, enjoying the waterways. So let's let off the lines, take over the helm, and escape to the world of boating. So, welcome to another episode of the Boat Princess podcast. I was chatting with one of my girlfriends the other day, and we were talking about boat share ownership. And she said, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." And that suddenly made me think, oh, that's probably something I should talk about on my podcast. So that's the inspiration for this episode. You're going to be listening to me the whole time. I hope that's okay. But we're going to talk about the different types of boat ownership, because there are actually quite a few ways that you can own a boat. You don't have to own a boat outright. So I'm going to start with probably the least committed way, if you like, of getting out on a boat, and that is chartering. So chartering means you pay for a crew and a captain to take you out on a charter boat for a period of time, or you can do what we call bareboat charter, which means that you actually hire a charter boat for a period of hours or a weekend or however long you want it. Now, in Australia, the regulations are very strict, and charter boats have to have certain safety regulations on board. So where is it? As in Europe, you can hire anybody's boat and you can go out on the Med and have a great time. In Australia, you cannot do that. And as a boat owner, you cannot simply hire out your boat to somebody else. It has to be in charter. So you need to be mindful of that if you were thinking you could make some money out of your boat. I'm sorry, guys, in Australia, you can't. Unless you get it into charter, and that is quite a process. So charter boats are fantastic for kind of trying out boating. If you're thinking about buying a yacht, there are some fantastic bareboat charter companies in Sydney and Australia that you can rent a yacht from them, and you can get an idea if you're going to like it. It's a really good way of putting your toe into the water, as we say, and trying it out and seeing what you think of it. You may love it, you may not like it at all. So that's a good way of testing the water, but it's also a good way of having a holiday. Chartering a boat is a fantastic thing to do, and you can go right from a simple yacht, bareboat, right up to a magnificent super yacht, and you can experience being a super yacht owner for a few days because you've chartered a super yacht. So there are some great companies out there that do that. And they are a great way of experiencing boating. Chartering super yachts is also another great alternative for parties and celebrations and weddings and all those sorts of things. It's a really different way of celebrating, very unique. People will remember it forever if they go to your wedding on a super yacht. I'm just saying. So that's chartering. Now we're going to talk about club ownership. So there are some boats out there that, some companies out there that offer club membership. So that means you pay a fee to that company every month for being in that club, and you get to use their boats. So they look after the boats, they clean the boats, they maintain the boats, they insure the boats, they berth the boats. When I say berth the boats, I mean pay for the berthing. You will actually invariably berth the boat yourself if you take that boat out. So That's a club membership, and that can be, there's some fantastic little clubs in Sydney that are not very expensive. So it's a really nice way to get into boating. Again, a good way of exploring whether boating is for you, and you commit to the club for a certain amount of time. You pay a monthly fee, and then you get to use the boats. You obviously have to book the time for the boats. You're not going to get the boat within 30 seconds of wanting it. You're going to have to plan ahead for club membership. So that is club memberships. Again, good way of getting used to boating, and also getting some training, because they will obviously not want you to take their boats out without having some form of training, especially in berthing. So they will provide the training for you. It's a great way of getting into boating. Then we come to share boats. So share boats can be done two different ways. You can either, four mates might decide, let's buy a boat together. And you can do that. You can have four friends go to a broker, find a boat they like, buy that boat, and then share the ownership of that boat. As those boat owners, you have to take full responsibility for the boat, and you have to sort of break those four people up into roles of looking after the boat, if you like, a treasurer, somebody who looks after the maintenance, all those sorts of things, so that everybody is very clear cut as to what they're doing in relation to that boat. Otherwise, it can get very messy. You can have one owner that just wants to turn up and go boating and have no responsibility for the boat, and that's not fair on the others. So if you're going to go into some sort of share ownership like that, be very aware of who you're going into that share ownership with. Be very aware of the money ability of those four different people. Can they all afford to look after that boat over a period of time? What's going to happen if something big goes wrong with that boat? Are you going to put some money into an account to keep that available for you? If something big happens, you will need to dip into that account, or are you all suddenly going to have to dip in altogether? And is everybody going to be capable of doing that? Are you all going to be very careful to leave the boat appropriately when you leave the boat? And is everybody on the same page in terms of how much you look after the boat? Is one person going to be, yes, it should be anti-fouled once a year, and another person be, no, I don't want to do it for another 5 years, which would be a really big mistake. So be very careful with that share ownership if you go into it, especially with a group of mates. It can spoil some really good friendships. So be careful with that one. It's a great idea. If you've got some good mates that work together and you think might work, it is a very good way of owning a boat, because it'll get used more, which boats love. Boats go wrong more if they don't get used. If they get used, they're less likely to go wrong, funnily enough. So it is in actual fact a very good way of owning a boat, because you're sharing the costs of owning that boat across four people, and you're sharing the usage across four people. So it's going to get more use. The costs of keeping it are going to be lower. But as I say, you do need to be very mindful of the people that you're going into that shared ownership with. You've all got to very much be on the same page. And interestingly, you'll normally find whether it's going to work right from the get-go, because you'll all either like the same type of boat or you won't. And it's very hard if from the get-go somebody wants a sports cruiser, somebody wants a slow jog-along, and somebody wants a sailing yacht. So it's very easy usually to find out right from the start whether it's going to work. So make sure you're very careful with that. But it is a good way to own a boat. Then you've got commercial share boats. Now, these are very clever, because you purchase a 8th, 10th share, 5th share, it depends entirely on the boat and the operator as to how they're doing it, in a boat. So whereas the club model, it's not your boat, this is actually your boat, but you only own an 1/8 of it. So you must take full responsibility for the boat. You must look upon the boat as if it is yours, but the usage is limited, and you are going to have to, again, plan ahead for using that boat. The share company will give you X number of days to use per year, and they'll split it up into this many weekend days, this many Fridays, this many public holidays, so on and so forth, to make it fair across the ownership of the different 8-10 people that own that vessel. You probably will never meet the other people that own the other shares of that boat, because the commercial share company will take care completely of the boat. So again, they will look after the insurance, the berthing costs, the maintenance costs, the cleaning. So you will walk onto the boat and it will be ready to go. You will walk off the boat. You'll obviously clean it up a bit before you leave. You won't just leave it as a disaster for them to come to. You'll walk it off as if it were your boat, but they will come back and clean it and make it ready for the next owner to use it again. So if you're time poor, and you don't really know a lot about boating as well, this timeshare or this share membership version model of a commercial share company is a really great way of owning a boat. It's a very good way to get into boating. Again, they will give you training, and again, you'll get to know, they'll go through that boat with you very clearly to show you how everything works, what everything does, all that sort of thing. So you really get to know that boat very, very well. And they'll give you some training in berthing, because again, even though it's your boat, they still don't want it being damaged by anybody that's driving it. So they will give you plenty of training to make sure that you're really careful with that boat. The beauty of that is, those of you who are very, very busy, you'll probably find you won't actually use the boat in the number of days they give you anyway. You're going to have plenty of days over the year that you're going to be able to use the boat. It does have disadvantages, as do all of the club and share ownerships, in that you can't leave your stuff on the boat. It's not entirely yours. So you can't leave all your bits and pieces that you want on the boat. You have to pack on, pack off, like going to a hotel, really. And then you are going to be restricted on your ownership. So if you're somebody that's actually got the time to go out on your boat every weekend, share membership is not for you. If you have very little time and you just want to get out on a boat and enjoy it, share membership is a good option. It's a smaller amount of money in, of course, because it's an eighth of the value of the boat as opposed to the full value of the boat. And it's a good way of really getting it. And it's another good way of working out whether you would use a boat a lot and whether therefore it's worth buying a boat in the future. So share membership for a commercial company is it's very valuable in very different ways. But please don't go into it if you think, A, that you don't own the boat, because you do, and 2, that you're going to get you to use your boat every weekend. It's not going to happen. What is interesting about the share model as opposed to the club model, you pay a membership every month, but you don't have any ownership in that boat. So your money that you're paying across is just lost money. Whereas the share version, you pay for an eighth of that boat. Yes, you pay a monthly fee for all the service and the costs of the boat, so your insurance and your berthing and all those sorts of things and the cleaning. They charge you a monthly fee for doing that. But after the whatever period the share ownership is for, it might be 3 years, might be 4 years, whatever that particular company runs as, they will potentially sell the boat and you will get that eighth back of whatever that boat is now worth. So that's another good reason for looking after that boat really well if it's in share ownership, because the more you're careful with that boat, the more you're going to get for it when you sell it. Some share companies will let you buy back in. So what they'll effectively do is just leave your money in the boat and you'll just keep paying the monthly fee and you'll stay in that boat. And if the boat's getting too old, or for their particular model, because all share boat companies run differently, then they will say, no, we've got to sell it now. And they will give you that percentage back that you're owed. But other times they will let you buy back in again. And the other advantage of being in a share company is some of them have lots and lots of different types of boats. So you might start off with a 40-foot boat, and then you might say, I'm really enjoying this, but I want a bigger boat. So then they'll take your share from the previous one, invest it into a bigger one, and you add on whatever you need to add on to that one, and then they'll resell the old share in the old boat that you had. So it gives you loads of flexibility, loads of potential to move to different boats, even if you get bored with one and you want to go to another one. and it's a very clever way of getting into boating, understanding what sort of boat you actually really, really want, because you can spend some time with it over a few years and then go, yeah, this is the size I actually need. And it might be smaller than you thought. So that's a good thing. So those share companies, there are a number available in Australia. I obviously know some really great operators in that space. So if you'd like to know about them or the club membership or the charters, obviously I have my faves that I know are really good operators. So just DM me on Instagram or contact me on my website, theboatprincess.com, and I'm more than happy to send you in the right direction, as it were. So let's talk about absolute boat ownership. Now, this is something most people aspire to getting to eventually because it's so incredibly flexible. You own the boat entirely. You can literally pop down on a Sunday, go out for a few hours and come back again because it's yours. It's sitting there in the marina, it's ready to go, or it's on the trailer, it's ready to go. So there's nobody determining when you can use it and when you can't. And you can leave your gear on it. You can also, say to a friend, if you want to go out on the boat, go out on the boat. So it's a completely different approach to share, charter and club. And it's one that I hope, many of you will enjoy in the future, because it becomes like, a boat is an incredible weekender, right? If you have a holiday house, I always say it's a holiday house where you can change the view, because you can go somewhere completely different and it's totally different to where you were last weekend. If you have a holiday house, you're going to the same place every time. And for some of us, you end up doing the lawn and, all the maintenance that goes with it as well. So a boat is a completely different, flexible weekender. You can move marinas, so you can have it close to home, or you can have it on a waterway that you want it to be on. It doesn't have to be close to home. Don't assume that your boat has to be in a marina close to home. What you actually want to do is get it on a waterway that you would like to enjoy. And the beauty of boats is that you can move them from one marina to another to do that. So a lot of the boats in our marina, for example, at Empire Marina, go from our marina in most of the year, and then in winter they take them up to Hamo and they spend time in Hamo. So that is something you can absolutely do when you own your own boat. The other thing you can do when you own your own boat is just go and sit on it. If it's sitting in the marina, you just go and sit on it. And it's such a nice thing to do. Or you can go and work on it. Lots of people go and, bring their laptop down to the boat and work on it. I mean, how good is that? You can hang out on your friends and have lunch in it, or have cocktails on it on a Friday night with your friends. It doesn't have to move to be fun, a boat. It can be in the marina or on a mooring, and you can have enormous fun just sitting still in a boat, because it's a completely different space. It's surrounded by water. You've got that whole blue mind thing going on. Boats, don't look at them as having always to have moving. You can really enjoy them just where they are. Depends on your marina, of course. Some marinas, ours is in a national park. It's just fantastic, so quiet, peaceful, lovely. You can totally relax down here. Others may be a bit choppier and a bit, not so quiet. But you can also take your boat to the likes of Darling Harbour Marina, for example, and Nick's can deliver your seafood. I mean, how good is that, right? So boat ownership as your own boat. I mean, one thing is I get terribly attached to my boats. I'm very, my boat is part of my family, if you like. I love it to bits. So that is what's nice about just like car ownership. It's the same thing. You get attached to them. But you also get to buy, because of course when you're going to a share company, you've got to buy a share in the boats that they have. Whereas when you buy your own boat, you can buy exactly the sort of boat that you want to own, which is the other side to it. And you will find when you're looking at boats that you will be attracted to certain brands of boats more than others because of their fit out, because of their style, because of their speed, because of their spaces, because of their refrigeration. There's a huge difference between different brands of boats and the styles of boats available. And you will find as you look further that you will find a certain brand or a certain style of boat that you really warm to. So with personal boat ownership, obviously you've got to look after it yourself. You can, if it's a bigger boat, some people pay for a captain to look after that boat. And you can also have different contractors that look after your boat. So, for example, here at the marina, our clients don't necessarily have to be here for the mechanic to do something on their boat. They can literally phone the mechanic here and say, this needs fixing, can you go and do it? And that mechanic will go and fix that, take it for a run to make it sure it's all good, and then it's done. And that is another beauty of being in a marina as opposed to being on a mooring. You can do things like that, especially a marina which has services on site, because it's just so easy for the guys and girls to go out and have a look at the boat. So you do have to take care of it. You do have to have a little knowledge of that. And there are plenty of people that will help you with that. A good broker will give you some understanding of that before you buy the boat. And always talk to, we were talking to Brett last week about him looking at boats before you buy it to make sure the paint is okay. There's lots of things you could do before you buy a boat to make sure that you're happy with buying that boat. So boat ownership as owning it fully as yours obviously means you can make it look exactly like you want it to look. You can leave the champagne in the fridge without knowing somebody's going to pinch it because it's a share boat. And you can leave all your gear on there, leave your diving gear on there, leave your toys on there. It is a very, very easy way to go boating, especially in a marina, because you're step on, step off. So she's plugged in, she's ready to go anytime you want her to go. So it is the flexibility and the pure sort of wanting exactly what you want to have, which is why you're going to buy a boat purely for yourself. So I hope that's explained all the different types of boat ownership. It's an interesting world to get into. As I say, if you need help with good operators, especially in the boat share space, please let me know. Just send me a DM or contact me on my website, theboatprincess.com, and sign up for my newsletter there too, because I can actually put details through on our newsletters on various subjects like that. And also you can get a free subscription to Ocean Magazine until January 22 when you sign up for my newsletter, and a discount on Ross and Whitcroft marine clothing. So I hope you have a lovely afternoon. It has been a delight to have your ears with me as always. The Boat Princess out. See you on the water soon. thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Boat Princess podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you'd like to know more about what I do and where I am, then you can follow me on Instagram at The Boat Princess. You can also sign up to my newsletter on my website, which is theboatprincess.com. And in doing so, you'll actually receive a code so that you can instantly enjoy complimentary from Ocean Magazine, their digital subscription until January 2022. That magazine is absolutely fantastic, beautifully put together, so much information about new boat models coming out, luxury lifestyle items, and what's going around all over the world in the boating industry. So just go to my site at www.theboatprincess.com, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll receive that gift from myself and Ocean Magazine. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you on the water soon.